Good afternoon. Today is Monday, July 14th, and welcome to a meeting of the Concord Board of School Trustees. Meeting is a meeting in public for the purpose of conducting school corporation's business and is not considered a public meeting. There will be time for public participation about agenda items as indicated on the agenda. If you'd like to address the board, please yellow card on the table by the door and get that to Mrs. Good before you speak. Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, I didn't see anybody make a mad sprint over to the yellow cards. Do we have any yellow?
We do not.
Okay. Let's see. Consent agenda. 3.1 minutes, 3.2 executive minutes from June 16th, 3.3 executive minutes from July 8th, 3.4 accounts payable claims, 3.5 payroll claims and distribution summary report, 3.6 human resources report, 3.7 conference requests, 3.8 agreements.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Towner, second by Mr. Malooey. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Okay. We also have an employment action item, 4.1.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Yoder, second by Mrs. Towner. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same.
We'll say for the human resource report, I'm abstaining. My daughter is an apprentice, and so I'm just not voting for that.
Okay.
Well, in that case, I'm not gonna vote.
Can we pause? Have you guys had any?
I haven't had
It's
anything
okay.
pop.
Oh,
Nothing's popped up.
Okay.
Okay.
I figured
Just
Mrs.
checking.
This is good, guys.
This is their way of
She'll
telling
fix
me I'm
it.
done.
Did you all get signed in?
Yeah.
Okay, well then.
Sometimes that happens.
Oh, I lied. I must have signed in too early because now I'm signed in. Go back to the meetings and then it said I had to join the meeting again. So that's our bad.
You good?
And I was in, so,
Okay.
but it's okay.
Okay. Are we good?
We're
Yeah,
good.
She got it, no weird
Okay.
verbal.
Mine's not popping up.
Okay.
I was gonna say,
5.1, Dr. Kendall.
All right, so, here we go, feedback, is that my fault? Okay, maybe you shouldn't talk so loud. And if you, do you want me to? Okay.
We'll take it down.
Okay.
There's no kids here.
Okay, so anywho, I'm here to present to you the student climate update on our results from May. And you will note, you should see it in your board packet, the link to get logged in. In order to see the full gamut of the results, not only, there's student safety, there's belonging, but there's also expectations, there's also instructional related questions. So I just want you to know you have access to all of it. But today, for the sake of our focus, we're going to be on safety and belonging. The reason being because obviously our mission statement being students will succeed in a safe and connected learning environment. So that is our focus here today. So here is the plan. We are going to discuss some research that we have been delving into as a leadership team. We're going to look at some comparisons between the two school years and then look at some key drivers that allow some schools to make some movement, and then we will look at next year. All right, so first and foremost, when you hear me talk today about student belonging, we have done quite a bit of research, and some of it starts with this Opportunity Makers research study by TNTP. And so what they did is they looked at thousands of schools to look at what are they doing to help students that are below grade level get to grade level and then progress to above grade level. And finding those commonalities that allow students to succeed over a number of years. And those are trajectory changing schools that we've been studying. And so what will ultimately come from this is, as we talk about the student safety and belonging work that we're going to be doing, we're going to refine some of the practices that we've done in the past. And I share that just because we're going to see more intentional growth, I believe, with some of these changes. So what you see up here are the three categories. And I know that Mr. Myers and Mr. Funston will dive into this in more detail when it comes to consistency and coherence, but I'm here to talk about belonging. And you'll notice, like, students can't learn if they don't feel like they belong within their classroom. So the work that we have been doing and we will continue to do will help our students be more successful in the classroom because they are in a place where they can emotionally excel and be primed for learning. So what you see up here first is our results from this past school year. So on the right-hand side are a combination of several different questions that feed these results. So we did see an increase from last school year to this school year, but one deficit that I was alluding to a little bit here when we were talking about opportunity makers is all of those questions feed that belonging score. And so if we really want to get scientific and intentional about our focus areas, if we're really going to focus on belonging, then we need to just measure that exclusively and not necessarily pour all of those in. For example, last school year, many schools focused on ways that they want to enhance respect within their buildings. So when you talk about belonging, respect is a part of that. But if you want to look at it in isolation, the number, then you need to look at that question individually and what goes into that. So with all that being said, our safety and belonging did increase. Go ahead, Mr. Stevens. However, when you isolate the belonging question, one of the goals that we made at the start of last school year is that 75% of our students would feel as if they belong in their schools. So some schools did improve in that, but like I said, I think from some of the research we've been doing, we will see improved results in that. Next slide, please. So then when you compare this past May to the previous May, we went up in all of the red areas. And when you have access or time to dive into the results, I would encourage you to look at one of the schools with CIS in particular. They spent quite a bit of time focusing on respect. So when you look at the individual questions, like I could go through all the schools with you today, but we'd be here all night. We don't want to necessarily sleep here. But you will see a marked improvement where the schools did, where their focus areas were. Next slide, please. So I wanted to talk just a little bit in detail because when you look at these schools, and I know it's hard to see, it's easier to see when you're in the program within Qualtrics, but the intermediate junior high in Oxbow saw an increase in these areas and the other buildings stayed the same. But I did want to give them props, and you have the links to their actual 90-day challenges from second semester. But for example, the intermediate had a protocol in which students learned how to address disrespect and how to advocate for themselves. And they also spent weekly within their morning meeting time focused on how to improve respect within their school. So that was a place of growth. Junior high, they were intentional about, when you talk about belonging, intentional about pulling out subsets of students and doing weekly check-ins with them to be intentional about supporting students belonging in schools. And then Oxbow also saw an increase. They did this cute little thing called a Mighty Minutemen moment, and the students were so proud when they came to the office with their little positive referral. And then they were honored at assemblies, as well as their grade levels were honored as well. So again, there's lots of functions within this, but we do want to get to a point, go ahead, Tyler, where there is more specificity, and that's what I'm going to talk about and preview what we have for next year. Okay, so our focus then in doing this research is that if we want students to feel like they belong, there needs to be an individual knowledge of students. So not only do we need to know students as learners, but also them as a person, not just what they are academically. Another facet that the research tells us is that students we need to document their growth goals. You know, what are their goals academically and how are we going to help support them get there? And then lastly, knowing the student's individual needs. So if they don't meet those growth goals, what are we going to do to get them there? So not yet, so fast. So as a district, and we talked about this just in June with all the principals and assistants, is the schools are able to make a building goal based on what's appropriate for their building when it comes to moving the belonging needle. But then as a district, it would be my expectation to set I want to see what they're going to do to acknowledge the individual student, document that, and take action on it on a routine basis. Okay. So within individual knowledge, then here are means in which the schools can create lead measures or create goals that allow them to learn students. So staff know each student's personal interests and individual strengths and characteristics. So they might create some student profile tracking sheet. And then weekly, teachers are responsible for checking in with students about that, and then making sure there's some action step tied to that, where it's not just, hey, how are you doing? You're actually diving in to that student as a person. Students have clear understanding of students' goals and academic strengths and growth areas. Not only can this be done by the teachers, but also one important facet within our strategic plan is getting to the point where students then are knowing their academic strengths and making growth goals for the future. And then also involving parents. That's one thing when you talk about these trajectory changing schools, is that the parents have an active part within the school community. That it's not just merely that they're there and you call them when something negative happens, that they're looped in positive situations. So again, just letting you know that the focus for next year will be on where do buildings want to zero in on, but as a district, us having that expectation that they know that individual knowledge. And then when it comes to actually measuring those, you'll notice we're going to be tweaking a little bit of the survey and switching out questions that are going to be have more correlation to student belonging as opposed to the other questions. Again, trying to get more scientific as to what research says we should be measuring as what's important to the students. All right. Questions?
First of all, can we go back to that last slide? So the questions on the left side are ones that are going, and these are the ones coming in?
So we have a team of administrators. So these are the ones that the research says we should be asking.
Okay.
So how do we, because we don't want to just add questions without eliminating questions. I don't know, from a school perspective, we have a group of administrators that are going to be working on what do we eliminate and what do we keep, because some of them do use this to inform other aspects of their daily life in school. So yeah, some will go, but some will stay.
Okay. I see we added a kind of a new set of questions in May about some of the things that, what makes our school unsafe, and they list, specific behaviors, and also kind of, what was the other one that goes into just like places where we're where we feel most at safe. And we have some results on there. Have those been reviewed, and kind of what are we looking at as far as kind of, if I'm seeing like hallways, for instance, what's our plan with that?
So specifically, the buildings asked, those buildings, I'm pretty sure it was junior high and CIS, had asked for that data to inform protocols within the school. So what they did is back in the winter, we developed student advisory groups and used that data to inform, okay, tell us, you said the hallway, your peers said the hallway, what about the hallway? So that they can make changes for this year. So yes, certainly that data has been looked at and action plans have been established.
Beautiful.
I will say one of the things that we did as part of those advisory groups is that we had student activity where they did submit more anecdotal information. And you would be surprised at things that you learn, like pockets of the building, especially in elementary, the cafeteria line is like a hot spot. So just the things you learn that you don't necessarily know are an issue. It was telling so they can make action steps. No questions?
you. And thank you for making that accessible for me.
If you haven't dug deeper into the survey, I encourage you to.
Yeah,
There's some
interesting.
good information there about our kids. And just reiterate what Lisa said, that belonging is all about creating an environment where learning can happen. So that's why it's an emphasis for us. And good time.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is for the board to hold a preliminary hearing on the proposed bond projects. If you're interested in speaking at the hearing, please make sure you sign the sign-in sheet, which will include your name and address. That'll be also on the table over by the door. After a presentation by the administration and its advisors, there will be an opportunity for the public to make comments about the project. At the hearing, we ask that each person limit their comments to 3 minutes, and the topic be limited to the proposed project under construction. The notice of this preliminary determination hearing was published as legally required. And now I'm going to ask Mr. Hessler to explain the purpose of our hearing.
Thank you, Madam President. Pursuant to Indiana, to Section 6-1.1-20-3.5 of the Indiana Code, a school corporation must hold 2 public hearings to adopt a resolution to preliminary determine the issue bonds or enter into a lease for a project that has a total project cost in excess of certain thresholds. These public hearings and the future consideration of resolutions are the very beginning of the process. Note that no board action is legally required at this hearing. Rather, at this hearing is solely to hear information and public comments regarding the project.
Okay, now we'll hear from Mr. Funston about the process of determining and communicating the projects to the community and the needs of the project.
Yep. So a lot of this is repeat. Am I able to screen share now? Okay. Sorry, the Apple TV was doing an update on this. I'll talk while he goes and does that. Right, I'm not going to show every slide here. A lot of it's repeat, but we have 5 goals as a district with our master facility planning. First goal is to ensure safe and healthy learning environments, maintain and ensure the functionality of our current facilities. We lose money to the circuit breakers, so another goal of ours is to improve our operating efficiencies as much as we can. So when we go in, doing LED, making sure that we have mechanical units that are operating efficiently. That'll help us with utility costs. Another goal we have is to update our facilities to accommodate our extracurricular programming and promote a sense of community pride. And then update our facilities to accommodate any new programming opportunities that may be there. So over the course of, it's been a long time that the district did a facility study with an architect back in 2017 or 18. And then, COVID hit. You got a new superintendent. We did another facility study around 21 or 22. We engaged our community in 3 different community engagement sessions as part of that as well. And thank you for putting that up. And so and from that, we collected a lot of survey data and information from our community on what they hope to see, which projects they feel most met the goals of the district as well. And so, yeah, that's basically how we've determined the needs. Now tonight, this hearing also includes some general obligation bonds over the course of the next several years that would help pay for technology, potentially would help pay for transportation. So when I say transportation, it'd be the purchase of buses, the purchase of technology equipment, and then other general maintenance sort of things that Mr. Phillips uses to update the buildings, like carpeting, ceiling tiles, some painting, things like that. So those are all things that are difficult for us to do within our operations fund, again, because we lose close to $2 million to the circuit breaker each year. So that's how the needs have been determined.
Okay. Anything else?
I'm going to go next.
Oh, you're next. Okay.
Yep.
Propose how we're going to meet those needs.
Yep. So Tyler, go to this slide right there. Yeah, blow that up just a little bit. So from that, we have a potential list of projects in our long-term planning that we've discussed and made sure that those align to our goals. The district already has sought permission, gone through the legal steps for the first 2 phases of this, and so we're promoting a 3-phase plan. The high school cafeteria, office, classroom updates, student parking lot. I'm gonna skip the music department right now and go to McCune, Activity Center, Jake, South Side, and then Oxbow are things that we are tackling in this first, hoping to tackle, in this first 2 phases. And then what you're considering tonight would be phase 3, as well as some general obligation bonds for technology and transportation. But phase 3 would potentially include some of those things listed there, probably most of those things listed there that are not in the first 2 phases. Yeah, so again, I've given this presentation before, so I won't go into any more detail unless you have questions.
Okay, now we'll hear from our municipal advisor, Lisa Huntington, about how we're going to finance these projects. And as well as the effect it will have on a typical property taxpayer.
Okay, yes, I'm Lisa Huntington with Baker Tilly. Thank you for having us. So I'm just going to review a summary of the proposed financing information. This is information that we saw last month while we were here. So we're seeking approval for a maximum borrowing amount of $38.5 million. We anticipate that we'll issue that in more than one series of bonds using a combination of general obligation and lease bonds. The maximum repayment term per series is 20 years. And the maximum debt service of all series of bonds that we issue will be $7.5 million. That gives you flexibility for us, you know, as we issue each separate series. We estimate total interest expense to be about $33.1 million. This is using a conservative interest rate of 6%. Currently, we're selling bonds between 4.25% and 4.5%. So hopefully that market rate at least stays at that level and maybe goes down by the time we go to market for these. And we also estimate proceeds for the projects that you have in mind of about $32.5 million. This takes into consideration issuance costs, underwriter fees, and also some capitalized interest, which is our kind of tax levy management strategy. As we go to issue the bonds, though, we will look for ways to reduce that capitalized interest number, giving you additional dollars for the project. The maximum debt service tax rate would be 78.5 cents. We are basing that number on the 2025 net assessed value. So we know that this tax rate could fluctuate up or down depending on the net assessed value. However, the key thing here to keep in mind is that we can structure this debt so that the total debt service levy will not exceed your current levy. Right now is at $13.1 million. And, you know, we've been looking at the numbers and we can structure the debt to keep it at that same level. Okay. That's all I have.
I just reemphasize that we're shifting from a rate perspective to a levy perspective because of Senate Enrolled Act 1. And so we're still asking to Lisa's point, same dollars, but the rate unexpectedly will change because of that legislation. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We will now open the public hearing. This is good. Do we have anybody on the list? Okay, so I don't need to go through that. Okay. Well, anyone else? Board members, anybody? Okay. So, I guess we'll close the hearings and we'll move on to the next item.
Okay.
You're just trying to throw me off. Okay, so consider Baker Tilly engagement letter. Okay.
Thank you, Mrs. Davis. We would like for the board to consider entering into an engagement letter with Baker Tilly for doing the things, some of the things that Lisa has done for this evening. Municipal advisory, which is all of the analysis of here's what it's going to take to do your projects, here's how you're going to pay for it, all those kinds of things. And then making sure that they work with us to keep that debt service levy, the amount of taxes that people actually pay, keep that levy over the course of the bond term. They also do the securities issuance. They actually sell the bonds and then assist with a number of other things, everything from budget to what's called continuing disclosure, which means that every year we have to report to the federal government if there are any things that would be concerns to bondholders and things like that. So ask for the board to consider engagement letter with Baker Tilly.
Motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Coons, second by Mr. Malloy. Questions for Mr. Evans? Okay. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Okay, and Mr. Evans, for the next item, supervisor MOU with Head Start.
Yes, there's been, as you know, the preschool project has had some weaves as we have, been in the process of setting that up. One of the things that's a good weave in this particular instance is that if you remember when the original plan for the director position was that we would hire a director, it would be a half-time director and a half-time teacher. Since that was basically decided, the Head Start group contacted us and said, asked us, would you be interested in working with us in making your director, not only director of your preschool, but a site supervisor for the Head Start programs in our buildings as well. We felt like that was a win for everybody involved. And as part of that agreement, Head Start has agreed to pay basically half of the salary and benefits, total compensation for the director. So the director is no longer half-time director and half-time teacher, but full-time director of both the Concord Minutemen Preschool and the Head Start program. So would ask the board's consideration of this memorandum of understanding, which allows us to enter into the transaction and then they can pay us for that time.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Malloy, second by Mrs. Towner. You get any questions for Mr. Evans on this item? It sounds great. Sounds like it's actually probably more efficient to have one person.
I'm not intricately involved, but from what I can tell, I think, as I said, I think it's a win for us. I think it's a win for Head Start. I think it's a win for our students. And so I think I would recommend it.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips,
Okay.
permission to advertise.
Yes, permission to advertise. Got another project coming up. So just seeking board's permission tonight to advertise for the renovation of 15 classrooms at the high school. It'll be phase one of maybe many. But we would advertise first on July 30th. The second advertisement would be the 6th, and then we would open bids on August 20th at 2 p.m. So the project's very similar to Oxbow, east side, west side, all of them. So new lighting, new floor, carpet, HVAC, technology, furniture. Same old.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Maloney, second by Mrs. Towner. Any questions, concerns? Okay. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Okay. Ooh, administrator contract, Mr. Hostin.
Yeah, so every year, actually, I think the last couple of years it came in June, so I'm a little bit late on this, but we typically roll over administrator contracts. This is not anything to do with their pay at all. We will negotiate with our teachers association, and then we decide what increases will take place with administrators after we're done bargaining with our teachers. And so would come back for that probably in October or November. So this is simply just rolling over the list of principals that you have in your list there, and would ask for your consideration of that. I would note that assistant superintendents are allowed to be on 3-year contracts. So you'll notice that recommendation. And then principals are not, they can't be on longer than 2-year contracts. And so those are 2 years.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Malloy, second by Mr. Coates. Any comments, questions? Okay. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Okay. Sharon, the superintendent.
I don't, for the sake of getting along here, I'll say it's 4:30. And so appreciate you guys having these meetings at 4. My staff appreciates it, but no, I'll save it for the quick exec session after this meeting. So.
Okay, Sherry from board. Guys, you guys have anything?
Just say, welcome. Sorry we're going to tear up your building right away when you start, but
It's okay, whatever's happening around, I'm still here.
If you haven't met, sorry, this is Carolyn Lesperance. Yeah, Carolyn is our new associate principal at Concord High School. We're excited to have her. She was in her first meeting with us today, so, yeah.
do a 20-minute speech or?
No.
Good.
Is that how she wants to start off here?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, anything else? Okay, let's go over upcoming meetings.
Well, we have one right after this. And
Okay,
then we'll be back here August 4th for a regular meeting at 4, and then the 18th at 4, kind of before we get back on the normal cycle of things.
Okay, anything else?
That's it.
Okay, I know you want me to wipe this gavel. Okay,
Yeah.
meeting adjourned at 4:31.
Do it. There we go. Yeah.
Nice, okay.
We'll convene in the middle